Greetings, brothers. Today we're talking Liberator Assault Group versus Angelic Inheritors. So this was the tournament that was at the GT last week. If you haven't seen last week's video, I talk about how last week I was the 6th highest Blood Angels player out of 39 people playing Blood Angels last weekend. Blood Angels have suffered this week though. We're down to 43% win rate. So today I wanted to jump into the game where I had to play against Liberator Assault Group, which most people are saying is the strongest attachment. So I came up against that first, playing Angelic Inheritors. I think this is a really interesting video, and I think what the quote was at the start of this video where I said, like, know yourself and you will know your enemy. I think this was very important because I think obviously playing against Liberator Assault Group, I know everything that they bring to the table. So I'm going to tell you how I used Angelic Inheritors to beat Liberator Assault Group at the recent GT I was at. So thanks so much for being here for this week's Tactics videos, and we haven't met before. My name is John and I am the BA Commander, and every week I'm going to tell you how to take your Blood Angels to a higher placing when you're playing in tournaments or when you're playing Warhammer 40,000. So this was my Angelic Inheritors list, and it's a pretty simple list. The core of the list, I guess, would be 3 units of Sangre Guard, 2 led by captains, 1 led by Dante. We have a little unit of Blade Guard led by Chaplain. We have a unit of Scouts. We have a unit of Infiltrators. We have our Lone Operative Lieutenant. We have a Tech Marine, Land Raider, Ballista Dreadnought, 2 Vindicator tanks, and then over here in the corner, a little squad of Outriders, and a Lone Operative. This Lone Operative is the Blade Guard Ancient. Well, he's not actually Lone Operative. He's a 45-point Blade Guard Ancient who has a 4-up invuln. Ironically, I actually took him to the event before I realised he even had a 4-up invuln save, I guess because he's a Blade Guard. My point was he's 45 points. I can put him in, he's 1 model, I'll reserve him, he'll do actions. That was his job, right? And in every game in this event, I started Dante plus 3 Sangre Guard and 3 Blade Guard and the Chaplain inside the Land Raider. So basically what that meant was the Land Raider could move forward, I could get a good turn 2 charge with the Blade Guard, and I could keep those Sangre Guard with Dante super safe, again, probably for something like a turn 2 charge. Right, and this is the list. So both captains had Power Fists and Plasma Pistols, because that's how I like to run them. There's no other War Gear options here. No War Gear here. I guess the Blade Guard, 1 guy did have the Volkite Pistol. I think once for this event it did 2 dev wounds. I've got the Infiltrators, I've got Land Raider with like Las Cannons, Hunter Killers, Multi-Meltas, Heavy Bolters, Storm Bolters, I've got those Outriders, I've got 3 units of Sangre Guard, each with, everyone's got a Blade, everyone's got a Banner, everyone's got an Infernal Pistol, we got 1 unit of Scouts, 3 with Knives, 1 with a Chainsword, 1 with a Missile Launcher, and then 2 Vindicators with 100 Killer Missiles. So this is quite somewhat of a standard, I would say, Angelic Inheritors list. You could make this list super standard in the current meta by dropping Land Raider and replacing it with 6 Plasma Inceptors. I think that would be the more meta way to play this list. But here's the thing, on the run-up to the tournament, I was playing against World Eaters, and oh my god, their Forge Fiends are disgusting. They will literally obliterate entire units of Sangre Guard every time they shoot. So, and I guess they'd obliterate Plasma Inceptors as well. So I didn't feel good running Sangre Guard into World Eaters, and I also didn't feel good running Sangre Guard into Death Guard. I don't know if you noticed, but Death Guard have a 60% win rate this week. So I was saying that there's too many undercosted units in Death Guard. They're very, very powerful. So I took the Land Raider as a counter for those 2 armies. And it turns out it was actually really useful in the Blood Angels mirror match, because it basically meant that my opponent was not able to engage on any of my Sangre Guard. And we're going to get into that as we go into the game. Let's look at what my opponent was running. He was running Liberator Assault Group. He had a captain with Speed of the Primarch, so that's fight first. He was attached to 6 Sangre Guard. He had Mephiston, Dante also attached to 6 Sangre Guard, the Sanguinar, 2 jump unit intercessors. He also had a Ballista Dreadnought, a Lancer, and a Redeemer. So 3 tanks, which is very standard in Liberator Assault Group. A 3-man unit of Sangre Guard that were not led, which he said would just do some actions and maybe do a bit of fighting. And then the unit of Scouts. He chose the Sniper Rifle and the Heavy Bolter, Chainsword. Maybe he had 2 knives to the last guys. I honestly don't know. His Scouts, no, they did get in combat, but I think I killed them. So this is what his list looked like, right? And when we're going into this tournament, I was worried about playing against this list. And I guess the reason I was worried about playing against this list is 6 Sangre Guard plus Dante. That's a lot of damage output. I figure they can kill any of my tanks in 1 round of combat. And I think they can also destroy most of my units of Sangre Guard in 1 round of combat just because of weight of attacks. The Fight First Captain, also with 6 Sangre Guard. Problem for me, right? Because I can't really charge them with anything because their Fight First will probably... I don't have any unit big enough to absorb all the damage from their Fight First. So both those units are going to be difficult to deal with. You've got Mephiston, who's going to do lone operative and fight first, so if I charge him with a weak unit, maybe he fights back and maybe he keeps holding the objective. If I try and charge in turn 2 or 3, the Sanguiner is going to arrive and he's going to fight first as well. So 3 fight firsts here to deal with. The little unit Sangre Guard with 3, not too worried about them. Scouts and the Jump Intercessors. I felt like the Jump Intercessors are going to help him score, but I felt like if I tangle with them with my units of like my Blade Guard or my Sangre Guard, I'm not worried about the Jump Intercessors. Maybe they kill one guy and then I wipe the squad. So I'm not too worried about them. I'm a little bit worried about the AP4 laser on top of the Lancer. I figured I need to kill the Lancer quite early because it is very good at popping open my tanks, and it's probably the best thing that we've got for popping open a Land Raider, and I don't want my Land Raider to be open. I want him to have to waste a unit to kill a Land Raider, a melee unit, to prevent most of my guys inside from being charged, right? The Redeemer, I can't get close to it with any of my jump units, so I'm going to have to shoot it. So now he's kind of got target overload. I need to kill the Lancer, I need to kill the Redeemer, and I think in this game he put Dante plus 6 inside the Redeemer. So Dante has potentially like a turn 1 charge threat range of what that would be a 3-inch disembark, a 12-inch move, then an advance, and then a charge. So Dante potentially is like a threat range in turn 1 if they're embarked on that Land Raider of about 33 inches. So I need to respect that, knowing that like he will be flying out of that Land Raider. Actually, we're not including the +1 to advance and charge Dante gets as well. So is that 35-inch threat? It's bonkers, right? Because it would be 12 plus 2 is 14 plus 3d6, which could potentially be 18. Plus the 3, yeah, so it's like a 35-inch threat range for Dante plus a 6. So I don't worry about that. I deploy knowing that he can potentially charge me within 35 inches of that Land Raider. And then the Ballistus Dreadnought. I mean, I've got a Ballistus Dreadnought. We know what they do. A couple of las cannons, a couple of missiles. They're useful. They score points. They stand on objectives. Okay, so I was a little worried, thinking 3 fight first, that's a problem. Redeemer, I can't get close to it, that's a problem. I also don't have a big enough melee unit to kill that Redeemer in 1 round of combat, right? Like, all my units of Sangre Guard are character plus 3, that's not killing a Redeemer. Or it's not killing any Land Raider, I guess. So, I need to be able to probably kill the Redeemer in shooting and possibly kill the Lancer in shooting. Maybe I can rapid ingress near the Lancer. I think before the game I was thinking, I'm going to rapid ingress a squad of like a captain plus a Sangre Guard, take out the Lancer as soon as possible. Bonus points if I can like consolidate into his Dreadnought, because Dreadnought's not going to be hitting me very hard in melee whatsoever, especially with -1 to hit and wound for the Sangre Guard. So that was my hope, was like, look at his list, right? He has like 10 or 12 units, right? Like, he can't screen effectively with this. You would argue that like 1 unit of Jump Intercessors are pushing forward, 1 unit's hanging back, Mephiston's on another objective, and then the Sangre Guard in the Land Raider. So he's only got about 5 units on the board. So he's not screening me at all. So I was thinking, I need to be able to use my space. I need to jump down and kill that Lancer. And then I need to figure out, probably use both Vindicators on the Land Raider and get rid of it. But I also need to I need to be able to shoot both units of his Sangre Guard before they get in combat with me. Because I cannot out-combat those units. And I certainly cannot out-combo those units if Mephiston or the Sanguiner can come in and join the fight. I also want to say my opponent's army was super well painted. I think I'll put a photo of Dante or something at the end if you want to see that. So, we're going to walk through all the games, or the entire game. And if you do get some value or you learn something from this video, please do consider liking and subscribing. I'm trying to grow the biggest Blood Angels channel here on YouTube, so I'd appreciate that. So this was round 1. We're playing Linchpin, which is all about holding your home field objective, and then some of the ones in the middle. And we're playing Fog of War, which I completely forgot until the time when I actually planned to do some tank shocking and some grenades in turn 1, and then realized I couldn't do it, and it totally messed me up. So I actually had a horrible turn 1. It is what it is. So this is what the deployment ended up looking like. Mephiston is on the right flank here. inside the Land Raider, you know, we have that, I actually think he put the Fight First Captain, because that's Fight First Captain standing on top with the six Sangre Guard inside his Redeemer. We've got the Lancer and the Ballistas hiding back here. He's got unit jump intercessors behind this wall, and unit jump intercessors here touching his home field objective. I have my bikes lined up to try and scoot round here. I have my Land Raider. I figured the best place for it would be to come forward and try and, like, contest 2 points, maybe. I've got a unit of scouts deployed very defensively. This was actually after, so I actually started them a little bit closer. So the scouts were actually deployed here as sort of a wall, and when I realized that he was going first, I pulled them back. Again, like, I'm trying to, you know, respect the range of charge that can come out here. You know, disembark 3, move forward 12, advance, D6+1, charge. Like, if the scouts were standing on this green line, which they were originally, I guess there could have been a turn 1 charge there. I just didn't want to risk that. He put his scouts right on the middle objective. He went first, so that's absolutely fine. The Tech Marines hanging out here, the Ballistas and the Infiltrators are hanging out here. My lone operative combi weapon guy is slightly in front of the deployment zone. I usually deploy him just in front. He is lone operative, and I usually make it so he can move 6 and touch this objective in case I need to touch an objective in, like, cleanse or something. I don't want him to have to advance. So obviously Mephiston would have to advance to touch this objective because he doesn't have infiltrate, but my lone operative does. So Liberator Assault Group is going first. We both deployed pretty well. And finally, his other unit of Sangre Guard was behind this building. I believe that's what he's measuring now as he jumped them forward to stage behind this wall. And I was a little bit worried about that because Outriders are not going to kill them, and it basically gives him a potential jump onto the Outriders. I don't really want my Outriders getting removed from the board for nothing. And Mephiston would be able to move down here and hold this objective. His scouts were in the middle. I believe they were like, he did recover assets with a couple of units. Maybe Mephiston actually recovered assets because I don't think I was able to stop that. And then in No Prisoners, he actually killed something in my turn. He didn't throw that away, and that was actually a good call. I wasn't expecting that. So we're going to come that to a minute, but we've got another position behind. So this was where the Sangre Guard were up. The Assault Intercessors were holding his home field. The Redeemer is going to push forward into the middle. Same idea as me. He's going to try and cover 2 objectives with that Redeemer. The Lancer was moving out here to get this line of sight, or this line of sight. The Jump Intercessors here are going to try and take this away from me, right? So my plan in turn 1 had actually been the Jump Intercessors. When they jumped onto this objective, I was like, cool, my lone operative can move out. He could throw grenades on them and shoot them with his devastating wound anti-infantry gun. That potentially can kill 2 guys. I was also going to have my Vindicator come up and tank shock into the wall, because I figured tank shock into the wall, like 11 dice on 5s, that'll kill probably another 2 guys, and then there'll just be 1 guy left with 1 wound who I can probably finish off with combi weapons, Lieutenant's Knife, or like the 3 attacks from the Vindicator tank. I was feeling fine about that, honestly. And then I realized it was turn 1, and I couldn't do any of that stuff. My opponent was very gracious and said I could go back, but I didn't want to go back. Like, it's a tournament, you play forward in the tournament. It's a mistake. I've got to deal with it. So I ended up charging with the Vindicator and the Lone Operative Lieutenant. I actually think I didn't even kill. I think I took 1 wound off 1 Intercessor. It was a complete whiff. And then his squad of Intercessors actually kill my Lone Operative Lieutenant. So I had a horrible start there. The Land Raider actually moved out and shot the unit of scouts in the middle with, like, its 4 las cannons. I think the multi-melta might have been out of range, but the heavy bolter was definitely in range. The storm bolter was in range. And I actually think I only killed 3 scouts, even with the Tech Marine giving me +1 to hit. I may have even Oath of Momented them as well. So I don't know how that was such a whiff, but it was a horrible, horrible whiff. I think I advanced my Dreadnought to try and get him behind this cover as well, because I didn't want to be, like, one shot by the Lancer, or didn't want to get shot by the Ballistas first. And then, yeah, I scored nothing. Like, I completely failed. I think my secondaries in turn 1 were no prisoners and engage on all fronts, and I did neither of them turn 1, right? Oh, I've jumped forward too many slides. So yeah, so the end of turn 1, he had his 5 assault intercessors holding this. He had his Sangre Guard holding this. He had his scouts, of which I only managed to kill 3, holding the middle. So it was a disaster. Turn 1 was a disaster for me. The only positive thing in turn 1 was I only lost my combi weapon lieutenant. So I guess that's a positive, but I didn't score anything. So he's 5 points ahead at the end of turn 1. Turn 2, I guess the scouts had I believe they had moved over here. I can't remember exactly how they got over there. Maybe they ran. They ran in turn 2, and then maybe they charged onto the combi weapon lieutenant. Maybe he was still alive. It was a disaster, though. So his 2 remaining scouts are over here. I actually had to fall back my tank because I didn't kill any of those assault intercessors, so I couldn't shoot them. Like, the tank couldn't shoot through the wall. Like, I was not expecting the tank to be locked in combat. He was locked in combat. The Lancer shot my Land Raider, and I'm down to 8 wounds. So I think he rolled like a 7 or an 8 for damage. Maybe got some chip damage from the Redeemer or something as well. So I'm down to half wounds. Actually, maybe did 9 damage in the Tet Marine repaired 1. Something like that. My scouts are alive. My infiltrators are alive. And my bikes moved up. And I decided to basically use the bikes as screening for my reserved Vindicator tank. So the reserved Vindicator tank was going to be coming in to try and shoot the Oath of Moment, which I've got on his Land Raider. He's got Oath of Moment on my Land Raider. We both got Blood Angels tokens for that, ironically. So I brought in my Land Raider to do the sustained hits, shoot his Land Raider, and I thought, I brought in my Vindicator. It's going to be charged most likely by this big unit of Sandguard, which I don't have an answer to over here. So my thought was, like, with the big unit of Sandguard coming in, I just want to make it super awkward, so I just moved the bikes. They're meat shields. 80-point meat shields. I did rapid ingress over here, or I did come in. I believe this must be, this photo must be, because I couldn't have rapid ingress in turn 1, I went second. So yeah, so in his turn, in turn 2, I must have rapid ingress right here. Out of line of sight of the Lancer, out of line of sight of the Ballistus Dreadnought, and this unit of Sangre Guard jumped forward with the intent to shoot these guys on the objective to try and get them off, and then to charge one of his tanks. And here was the thing: I wanted to charge this. I don't think I was able to, because, like, there wouldn't have been space in here with the scout screening and with these guys screening. So I just felt like, okay, I can't get to the Lancer. I need to kill something, so we'll kill the Ballistus Dreadnought. But the thing is, the second I charge that, the Sanguiner is going to heroically intervene. So, like, I'm going to have to deal with that. Like, I have to deal with it. That's happening. I'm just hoping that the Sanguiner fluffs his attacks. And guess what? The Sanguiner in Liberator Assault Group tends to always roll a bunch of 1s. So that's what I'm hoping for. So I scored nothing in turn 1. And in turn 2, I do manage to pick up some 2 no prisoners points, 2 engage in all front points over here with this unit of Sangre Guard. And I finally managed to score linchpin points, I think because I basically had killed a bunch of stuff on this objective. Oh no, linchpin points, 3 points. I only get 3 points for holding my home field. I hold nothing in the middle. So he played the first turn very well, right? He'd pressured here, he'd held middle, he'd pressured here. And I guess, like, his list is much more pressuring than mine, but his units are also much more expensive than mine. So as the units start dying, the game will flip. And honestly, at this point, having scored no points in turn 1, and scoring okay points in turn 2, I guess, like 9 points, not great, but okay points, I was actually feeling pretty worried about this game at this point, because I was like, okay, I've given up the early scoring by like 15 points. My Vindicator tank actually completely bounced off his Land Raider. I actually shot his Land Raider with my Land Raider as well. I think I got it to like half health. I did not kill that Land Raider, which was somewhat problematic, right? So I got his Land Raider down to about half. I'd hope to do a little bit more. I guess statistically, like, those Vindicators can swing pretty heavily, and having my Vindicator stuck in combat, like, once I realized that I couldn't tank shock him and do any damage to him, to those intercessors on that objective, I probably shouldn't have charged, because it was only after I charged I was like, oh damn, yeah, I don't want to fall back and shoot in this detachment. And, you know, I was only charging because I had in my head I would have been able to do 11 dice tank shock after grenades, after devastating wounds, and then with the captain as well. I feel like I could have pretty much killed the whole unit of assault intercessors. But yeah, so really bad first turn for me. Really bad second turn. And then, like, for now, because he went first, it's go time. I do think in this matchup, and I feel like this is a thing in a lot of matchups in 40k at the moment. Going second can have a giant advantage. Sometimes going first can have a big advantage. But going, like, in a trading game like this, where both players have, like, melee units that want to trade, going second is much better, right? Because, like, for example, you know, like, he had a big unit of Sanguinary Guard inside the Land Raider. I can't trade into them. Whereas, like, now, going into turn 3, it's like go time for him. Like, he has to go. He has to commit. And what is he going to commit to do? Well, he's going to commit, like, 6 Sanguinary Guard and a character to kill the Land Raider, right? And then all my guys are going to pop out, and they're all going to be in full wounds. And he's unlike the only... Maybe if he'd multi-charge down here, like, maybe the play in this game for him would have been to take both big units of Sanguinary Guard and one kill the Land Raider and the other one be in a position to pile into what comes out of the Land Raider. But I think that would have been super hard to do, because imagine this unit of Sanguinary Guard comes down here and, like, tries to base the Land Raider like this and blow it up. The other unit, like, 12-inch move, maybe they advance, maybe they charge, they're like here. Well, I'm going to put the Blade Guard in between them and the Sanguinary Guard. Like, I'm not going to feed him the juicy Sanguinary Guard, am I? And then I'm going to put the Sanguinary Guard back here behind the wall. So, like, even if he super commits into this Land Raider, I feel like I'm still going to be in position to counter on his Sanguinary Guard very good. And also, he can't ignore this Vindicator tank back here. So this unit here kind of needs to go after the Vindicator. If he's going to ignore the Vindicator tanks are too damn good at killing infantry. Especially toughness 4 Sanguinary Guard, right? Okay, so we go into turn 3 and we're in a different angle now where the Land Raiders are over on this side of the board. And so this was the play he made. And at the end of turn 2, he was winning 33 to 19. So 14 points ahead. And he was going first, so he was, like, you know, at this point, if he scores another 10 points, then when it comes into my turn, I'm like 24, 25 points behind. At that point, I'm starting to feel some pressure. We had a good banter before the game. I actually really enjoyed this game. I think Callum was one of my best opponents at the tournament. But you know, a lot of people on the YouTube channel tell me every week that I'm doing something wrong with Blood Angels. They're like, John, you shouldn't have done this. John, you shouldn't have this in your army list. John, you should be playing Liberator Assault Group. And, like, I am not immune to that noise, right? Like, so I'm thinking, oh my god, if I get crushed, like, by Liberator Assault Group, you know, 80 points to 20 or something, I'll never hear the end of it. Everybody will be like, John, we told you should be running Liberator Assault Group, Angelic Inheritors this week, you know, etc, etc, etc. So this is the move he made. And you did an advance and charge for this unit of Sanguinary Guard led by the Fight First Captain, and they come flying over here. And the reason they come flying over here is because he picked Mark for Death. And I marked for Death, I think I marked for Death, like, this Dreadnought, this Vindicator tank, and the Infiltrators. I'm actually surprised. I should have probably marked for Death as Scouts. That would have been... Maybe I was worried. Maybe they're actually a little bit closer in just this perspective. Yeah, maybe the Scouts... I feel like I could have picked better Mark for Death targets. But anyway, I picked this Dreadnought over here. Up here, the Sanguinary did intervene, and he did kill one whole Sanguinary Guard. I think he took 4 or 5 wounds. I think he must have taken 4 wounds from the Captain, or maybe it was 6. Like, the Sanguinary didn't escape with very much left, but the Dreadnought did live. He took 10 damage. So the Dreadnought was on, like, 2 wounds, and the Sanguinary was, like, on... Maybe he was on 3 or something. I feel like at one point in the game he was on 1 wound a little bit later. So maybe the Captain... Maybe there was 2 rounds of combat there, and the Captain smacked him down to 1 wound. I don't know if bringing in the Sanguinary for 140 points is worth a single trade of a single Sanguinary Guard model, but that's typically what he does in Liberator Assault Group. He's just not worth 140 points. I guess he did save that Dreadnought, but I mean, you could have had another whole Dreadnought for 140 points, and that other whole Dreadnought could have just shot 4 las cannons and 2 missiles, and then tank shot the Sanguinary Guard, which I think would have killed more than the Sanguinary. Anyway. So he jumped over here with his Fight First Sanguinary Guard to make himself quite strong on this side of the board, I would say. If he kills that Dreadnought, I've got big problems, because he can probably get real close to my Vindicator tank, depending on what happens with the Sanguinar combat up here, I'm not feeling strong on the left flank at all. Scouts aren't going to do anything. Infiltrators aren't going to do anything against a big unit fight first Sangregard. I think he's got one jump intercessor left on this objective with this Dreadnought, for whatever that is worth. On the other side of the board, this is where things got interesting. So after the one unit had made their big advance and charge over here, and I think he rolled a 5 for his advance and charge, right? It was good. It was really good to his advance and charge. He pushed the Land Raider up. He pushed the Dante plus his 6 Sangregard up. But like I said, this is, I think, so this thing now has 6 wounds left, so he must have shot it with the Land Raider, did incidental damage against it. He's going to finish it off with the Sangregard, we know that. The 3 Sangregard on their own, some charged the bikes, they actually like completely whiffed the roll, and I guess they killed a single bike. That's pretty bad, but I guess that's what happened. And it did mean that this Vindicator tank was left out of combat, and sneakily, I did have another rapid ingress in this turn, and I thought about it long and hard. I really thought that I was going to rapid ingress over on this side of the board to, you know, because I was weak on that side of the board, but my logic was, I was convinced that the small unit of Sangregard were going to charge the Vindicator tank. So I put my unit of Sangregard far enough back here, where they're within 6 inches of like here. So my thought was like, if he tags the Vindicator tank, then I will heroic intervene with my 1 CP. Yes, I'm going to get hit first, but I'm -1 to hit, -1 to wound. And it means I can probably maybe mop up enough of them with my rerolls of 1 to hit and my rerolls of 1 to wound. And I'll have made a charge move as well, so I'll have an additional point of strength for whatever that was worth. Maybe that means that I'll keep my Vindicator tank alive. And I felt with the Blade Guard and the Sangregard inside here, that I would have enough with this rapid ingress to mop up everything on this side of the board. Mephiston is here as well, so hopefully that would mop up everything that's over here. All my reserves are in at this point, except my Ancient, who I believe in my turn 3 is going to pop down in that very top corner and do some actions. So everything was down on the board pretty much, but I thought that like if I can overrun the 3 Sangregard and Dante plus 6 and the Redeemer and Mephiston, then I feel real good, and he only really has 1 or 2 units on the other side of the board that I'm scared of at this point, right? Like I'm scared of the fight first Sangregard, and I can't. I must have just figured like I can't deal with them, but I can deal with everything over here. So in turn 3, even with this crazy aggression, he actually scored nothing for Mark for Death. He failed this charge. I think it was like a 6-inch charge, but he'd used his 1 CP for the advance and charge. So he couldn't re-roll it. Yeah, I mean, he just couldn't re-roll that charge. So that really hurt him. So these guys got left sitting ducks in the middle. If they kill that Ballistus Dreadnought, maybe he can push on a little bit more. I think the Sanguinar did actually finish off my entire unit here, I guess. They're all dead. I can't remember why... I didn't realize that the Sanguinar... Even though, so in my turn, I made the charge. And then, yeah, I didn't realize this. So in my turn, I made the charge. So I fight first. Or normally I would, but the Sanguinar came in and he fought first. But then in his turn, I thought in his turn, I picked before the Sanguinar, right? Because I thought it was like the defending player pick. But he was allowed to pick first, because the Sanguinar fights first. So the Sanguinar actually wiped the rest of that unit over there, and I was like, oh my god, this is bad for me now, right? Like, I'm really weak on this side of the board. But he didn't actually, because he failed his charge, he didn't actually manage to do overwhelming force, so he kind of stalled out on primary points. And then this is where the game sort of started to turn in my turn. So because he whiffed really badly, the 2 Sangregard that were left down here are now going to get mopped up by my unit of Sangregard. My 2 bikes just fell back onto the objective to take it away from him, because they're OC4, the 2 bikes. My unit of Blade Guard came out, charged both Mephiston and his unit of 6 Sangregard plus Dante. My other unit of Dante plus 3 Sangregard also charged that same unit. And I guess my Vindicator tank finally killed that damn Land Raider Redeemer, right? And I I purposely didn't move these guys until Land Raider Redeemer was dead, so I shot it first, so I didn't get an opportunity to overwatch. So like these guys made it, like they didn't make the shortest charge. I think the Blade Guard actually charged from a concealed position, and I think Dante's unit, they deployed out here or something, out with line of sight, so that they shot before needing to move. My little Blade Guard Ancient pops down in the back corner right there by his lonesome to establish a locust for 4 points. My scouts came back on the board over here. They jumped off back here, and they decided to try and shoot them one missile shot at the like super low wound ballistic dreadnought. Nothing happened. But what you will notice is this fight first unit has been evaporated. So my Vindicator tank, my Ballistic Dreadnought shot everything they had into that fight first Sanguinary Guard unit, and they killed everything. I then tank shocked his commander with the Ballistic Dreadnought. I can't remember, but that commander was like all but dead. He's on like, I think he's on like 1 or 2 wounds. And I guess by moving on here, I have stormed hostile as well. So now I was already holding this one for primary. So I get my 8 points. I get my 4 points for that little ancient sneaking in the backfield. I get 4 more points for storming hostile. And now we've got a giant combat where I've got 3 Sanguinary Guard plus a captain against 2 Sanguinary Guard. I've wiped them. And I've got my 4 Blade Guard into Mephiston, 6 Sanguinary Guard, and Dante. I actually must have shot these guys already, because you can notice there's only 5 models. So I guess whatever incidental shooting I had, which would have been like Dante's Infernal Pistol, the Infernal Pistol of the squad, we kill 1 model. So in this combat, we end up killing 5 of the Sanguinary Guard. So what's left is Dante plus 1 Sanguinary Guard, and Mephiston is all that's left. So he lost the 2 Sanguinary Guard, 5 more Sanguinary Guard. And I think Mephiston had taken a couple of wounds, because this one guy that was tagged him, I think definitely swung it. No, maybe he didn't swing at him. Maybe I just decided, like, let's just call the big squad, right? So at the end of this turn, things have swung like in one turn, right? And this is why I'm really reluctant to play Liberator Assault Group going forward, because like, his captain plus 6 Sanguinary Guard, that's a 260 point squad. Deleted, you know, absolutely deleted. Another like 120 point squad of Sanguinary Guard, 130 point squad, deleted. Another 200 squad of Sanguinary Guard, deleted as well, right? Like, yeah, he won the combat. The Sanguinary finally finished off a few of my guys. But if I'd realized that he was fighting first, maybe he wouldn't have finished off a few of my guys. I actually don't know if I even rolled their pistols up here. I don't remember. Maybe, like, if I had the overcharged plasma pistol and the infernal pistol, I think I should have shot them at the Sanguinary. I feel like I would have done that. I think I just forgot. Maybe I just assumed I was fighting first in that situation and didn't shoot them. So yeah, I maybe messed up there. But like, he just lost like 800 points of Sanguinary Guard in one round of shooting, 1 round of combat. They are entirely gone. And I think this is what I'm struggling with right now with Blood Angels. And this is why I say playing 6-man units of Sanguinary Guard is very difficult, because he was winning by like 14 points. And he still scored 8 points. So he was 22 points ahead. And in 1 round of combat, like, I think after this turn, my opponent basically said, I think that's it. I think that's it. You've won now. And I was like, oh, well, we'll play on, dude. And he was like, yeah, but I just, like, I don't know if he felt demoralized or what, but like, there was almost barely any other play he had here, right? And like, I don't know what he could have done differently. Like, it's turn 3, it's go time for him. He's going first. Yeah, maybe you could have brought the other 6 Sanguinary Guard down here at the bottom to try and help win this fight on this side. But if he'd done that, then I would have been able to push all these dreadnoughts forward with a bit more oomph and maybe take over this side of the board. So he probably had to split his forces. But one failed charge and like everything just started falling apart. The Vindicator with the sustained hits is honestly a stupid unit, because I think it was like, I want to say that I rolled a 6 for the number, 5 or 6 for the number of shots, and then I got blast, so I had like 9 or 10, and I want to say I rolled like 3 6s, re-rolling everything, sustained. I think he had to take 13 saves at AP3, of which, like, I think he failed 6 or something. I just obliterated like 5 or 6 Sangre Guard. In the very next game, the Vindicator did the exact same thing against Custodes, where it just obliterated a whole unit. I see why people take Vindicators, but I don't know if I think they're a good unit for the state of 40k, because they're just, like, I think they should just be normalized. I think they should be like, what is it, D6 plus 3 shots? Sure, we'll just give it 6 shots. That's D6 plus 3 is 6.5. Just give it 6 shots, and then it's D6 damage, just give it flat 3 damage, right? Like, just normalize. Like, why have we got these tanks that swing from 2 damage up to 40 damage? Because honestly, yeah, I mean, it can probably swing higher than 40 damage, but yeah, it was basically soul destroying, I think, for how many Sangre Guard that one Vindicator killed in one round of shooting was just ridiculous. But I mean, I say that, look at Doomsday Orcs for Necrons. They have flat 4 damage, and they also have a crazy swingy amount of shots. Maybe I just don't like maybe I just don't like weapons that have giant swings in any shape or form. So anyway, the game ties up much, much closer at this point, 41 to 35. I'm now holding the bottom. We've got one more round of Dante +1 against my Sangre Guard +4, and Mephiston is here on his own. And I think Mephiston maybe and Dante both kill a couple of things here. So basically, after his turn 4, the Sanguinar is still hanging around here. We did, I think, grenade him eventually with the scouts to get rid of him. You can see he only scored 3 points in turn 4, and that would have been for holding his 1 home field objective. Somehow, I think Mephiston must have smited my bikes, because there's only 1 bike left with 2 wounds. Mephiston is now dead, and I've still got 1 Sangre Guard and a character there. His Dante is dead, but my whole unit... His Dante rolled pretty hot against my unit, actually, and killed most of the Sangre Guard. But my Dante has finished off his Dante and is now holding the middle objective. And at this point, I think he's got this unit of Assault Intercessors, and he's got the Sanguinar, and that's his list, right? Like, you know, I honestly think the Sanguinar is on 1 wound as well. So he's sitting on a unit of Jump Intercessors, and I have Infiltrators, 2 Vindicator tanks. I think the only reason this one took 1 wound is from like a chainsword. So 2 full health Vindicator tanks, 1 Sangre Guard, a captain, a Dante, some bikes, and yeah, I mean, I took casualties. I did take casualties, but like toughness 4 bodies are so vulnerable to shooting. Like, Sangre Guard are good if you have to melee them, right? But like, and I did have to melee, them in one situation. And in the situation where I had to melee them, you know, he lost, what did he have? Dante +5, and he killed 3 of my Sangre Guard, and I guess all the Blade Guard and the Chaplain. I think he did have Mephiston helping kill that Blade Guard and Chaplain as well. But yeah, I mean, 3 Blade Guard and a Chaplain, 240 points, and 3 Sangre Guard, 360 points. So I guess like his 400 point Mega Blob, if you call them that, Dante plus 6 Sangre Guard, 390 point Mega Blob, kill 260 points of my units. And I am seeing that as an okay trade, right? Like, that is an okay trade for that many units from his side. But realistically, like, it's not an okay trade, because he lost 5.5. He lost 550 points, and I lost 260. So, like, Sangre Guard are already difficult to make the trade back in melee, and in shooting they just got absolutely obliterated. So like, one of the reasons I've been playing Angelic Inheritors is because I like playing 9 Sangre Guard in units of 3, because they are not too much to lose. They feel so much to lose in Liberator Assault Group, and they still die so friggin' fast. Like, when this edition came out and we got 4-up invuln save on Sangre Guard, I think everyone was happy, right? Everyone's like, oh cool, Sangre Guard, 4-up invuln save. They really needed that. I actually think they were better maybe when you had 10 of them, right? Because everything's throwing 3 damage out now. Very rarely does a Sangre Guard take 2 failed saves to live, right? So much 3 damage in the meta. So I also think it was honestly slightly better when you had 10 of them, because they were just glass cannons, right? They just flied in, 50 attacks from the Sanguinary Guard, and then a bunch of them die. And I think pretty much the same thing happens. They have a bunch less attacks now, and a bunch of them die anyway, just because most things throw out 3 damage. And toughness 4 is so easy to wound in shooting, right? Like, it's just so easy. I don't even know if, like, we don't see a lot of people playing Terminators. Terminators are toughness 5. I don't even know if I feel like that's a meaningful increase, right? Gravis maybe is a meaningful increase at T6. Like, I've played a Gravis Blood Angels list and I thought it was okay. But T4 and 5, man, they're just so susceptible. And Sanguinary Guard, I guess, -1 to hit, -1 to wound in combat. Sometimes lets them linger around, and sometimes in combat there's armies where they're very, very good. But they're, you know, this list, this Angelic Inheritors list, has the potential to wreck Liberator Assault Group. And I guess as we push on to turn 4, where I'm starting to dominate the entirety of the map, we end the game 79 to 47. And remember, I completely screwed my first turn and didn't score any primaries on another game that could have been 10 points. And if it hadn't been Fog of War, I'd probably popped him off a primary as well in turn 1, so it would have been another 5 points. So this could have very easily been a 94-point scoring. You know, I am my own worst enemy at times in tournaments. I was happy to win this game after being like 30 points behind, or in my mind, I felt like I was 30 points behind. I think the most I was ever behind was 24, or maybe it was 22. But in the early, see, when you are 22, 20 plus points behind in turn 2 or 3, you do start to question where you are. It's hard to sort of keep your head above water, you know, like, you know, there's a lot of games still to play, but you're maybe not thinking straight because you're just like, holy shit, I'm a lot of points behind already, right? So yeah, in the final turn, I guess I picked some good secondaries: recover assets, area denial, and he had nothing left in the board. Bring it down, secure no man's land as well. So my secondaries were actually 32 out of 40. My tournament score, my average in this tournament was actually 32 out of 40 across the whole tournament. And I had one game where I did really badly with 20. So I think in most of my games, I must have done between 35 and 37 on average for secondaries. So this list actually scores secondaries very well. The Blade Guard Ancient is very useful for 45 points. The Tech Marine as a lone op is also very useful. The Scouts are usually an MVP when it comes to scoring. And if you don't get your Lieutenant killed in turn 1 from being a dumbass, he's also very good at scoring as well. But the Liberator Assault Group, like, he was, like, after his first 2 turns, it just shut down, right? Like, he never managed to do another secondary, and all he held was his linchpin for like 3 points each turn. And this is why Liberator Assault Group seems to work very, very good with lots of cheap units, right? Jump Intercessors, Blade Guard, Outriders, Scouts. But you, like, the really expensive units, Sanguinary Guard, Death Company, I think they're really difficult to play in Liberator Assault Group. And I think we're seeing that, right? With, like, yeah, there's the occasional Blood Angels player that's winning a tournament, or there's occasional some people that are doing 4-1 and 5-1, but there's also a lot of people getting their asses kicked because they're rocking up with, like, death ball bricks of, you know, Dante plus 6 Sanguinary Guard, Mephiston the Sanguiner, bad characters in Liberator Assault Group in my opinion. Both of them were super underwhelming this game. I actually asked my opponent, I was like, do you like these characters in this detachment? He's like, oh, they're always underwhelming. And I was like, yeah, dude, that's kind of why I don't take them. But you know, good job for Callum sticking with them, I guess. I if something doesn't underperform for me in like 5 games, I'm like, I throw it back in the drawer. I don't even try after. Like, if I go through 5 games and it just doesn't perform in any of those games meaningfully, I'm just like, yeah, you're in the drawer till next edition, buddy. So yeah, I went into this game a bit worried, right? Because I felt like 3 fight first, 15 Sanguinary Guard. That's going to be difficult for me to deal with. I don't have any way of counter fight first. If we get in combat a lot, I'm not going to do too well against 15 Sanguinary Guard. None of my units are big enough to deal with that. Basically, if he had the ability to charge any of my units, he should delete them, right? Like, because all my units are like 3-man minimum size with characters. I was a little worried about both Mephiston and the Sanguiner, but in reality, they were pretty underwhelming. Both of them barely made like half their points back. that's usually that. I mean, that's why I don't play them, because I feel like they're very difficult to play. They're usually underwhelming. My opponent going first was actually a big disadvantage to him, unless he got very lucky, like shooting the Land Raider with the Gladiator. He was going to have to commit one of his big units to open up the Land Raider, I feel like. And if he's going to commit a big unit to open up the Land Raider, then that's going to give me a lot of counter charge potential. I mean, neither of us probably wanted to go first. But maybe even more so, he didn't want to go first, right? Like, because I can at least open up his Land Raider across 2 phases, right? I could shoot it open with a couple of Vindicator tanks, and then I could charge with whatever I've got to charge with. And I was thinking as well, like, tank shock wouldn't be the worst idea with my Land Raider. I mean, tank shock statistically kills probably 1.5 Sangre Guard. Wouldn't hurt to weaken them up, you know, before I charge them with some other units. I was also aware, obviously, I couldn't get near the Redeemer. And I was also aware that my Sangre Guard going to be pretty ineffective against his Sangre Guard, especially because I'm going to be -1 to hit, -1 to wound. So I'm going to be hitting, like, the non-Dante unit is going to be hitting on 4s and probably wounding on 4s. So if I have like 17, that's what I get, 17 attacks with the Captain plus the 3 Sangre Guard. If I'm only hitting on 4s, that's like 8.5 hits. I'm only wounding on 4s. That's like 4.5 wounds. He's saving on 4s. That's like 2. So, like, that unit is maybe killing 1 Sangre Guard. So I was very aware that, like, I can't really fight him with my small units of Sangre Guard. But, like, knowing my enemy, knowing everything he was able to do, I was able to play to prevent, like, his strongest units doing what they needed to do. You know, his one big unit of 6 Sangre Guard with Fight First killed nothing. His other big unit of Sangre Guard with Dante killed a Land Raider, but it was already badly wounded. And then his other 3 units of Sangre Guard killed an Outrider. So, I mean, if you put the points together for what he spent on that, which is probably in the region of like 900 points. A single Outrider is like 20, let's just say 30 points, let's round that up. A badly wounded Land Raider, you know, so about 150 points. That's it. So he spent 900 points to kill about 180 points. And that's why I keep harping on about saying, like, I don't know how you play the 6-man Sangre Guard squad. I mean, the way I would play it is I would start off the table in Rapid Ingress, but I feel like you can probably only do that with 1 unit, right? Like, he had 3 squads of Sangre Guard, 6, a 6, and a 3. I don't really know how you play that effectively. I actually think the Land Raider is a good idea in that situation, because it does at least protect 1 squad and let them get far forward in the on the battlefield, so you can make that guaranteed charge. Ironically, the one time he tries to do it with advance and charge, it doesn't go off. But I would have probably Rapid Ingressed the other unit. The good thing about Rapid Ingressing units to Sangre Guard led by captains is they can use the Rapid Ingress, they can reduce the cost of Rapid Ingress from 1 CP, so you can come in from strategic reserve, essentially, for no CP, right? So, going forward, yeah, if you are playing Liberator Assault Group, I think you need to know your weakness, and I think the weakness is those big units, like susceptible to blast as well. It's also quite one-dimensional. Like, your opponent knows, like Liberator Assault Group, you are strong when you are charging. You're going to want to be charging. And, like, especially, I mean, I think it comes down to, like, Blood Angels aren't a horde army, but I think you become better in Liberator Assault Group when you take lots of cheap small units. Like, could I get on board and just running like 3 Sangre Guard unled potentially? So you just get a bunch of Strength 8, AP3, 2 damage, 15 attacks for 120 points. Maybe. I think there is probably plays out there, but I think you've got to be super careful running those big units. And I was worried about playing this game, and my opponent did start very well, but those big units, the Sangre Guard, they need to do so much heavy lifting, and I think in some games that's just not possible. My opponent actually bounced back and finished right behind me in the final tournament list. He went 3-2 as well, and he beat Miles, who I'm playing this week. Probably you actually be able to just watch the game against Miles, because it should be live by now, because this video will come out on Friday. So that's it. That's what 2,000 points of Liberator Assault Group looks like. And I don't think I think I just wouldn't play this at an event. right? Like, I think it's, like, I just think it's too hard. Yes, there's some armies that you'll, like, if you're fighting against orcs, for example, this will be doing amazing. But if you're fighting against knights or something, like, Sangre Guard are too easy for them to kill, especially with, like, armigers with flat 3 damage, anti-fly 2 up, you know? And the 3 wound doesn't feel meaningful anymore, right? Like, you remember, you know, everybody wanted Sangre Guard at 3 wounds, but everything does 3 damage now, it feels like. So it just feels much, much less relevant. Blood Angels, ironically, still do 2 damage, mostly. And I still managed to actually obliterate all these things in one turn. In one turn, he lost, what was it? 6 Sangre Guard, 3 Sangre Guard, 5 Sangre Guard. So he lost 13 out of 15 in one turn. And that's like 700 points. It's disgusting. So last week I actually did a video on the competitive trends with Blood Angels, how you can play competitively, what we see doing well at tournaments. So if that's something you're interested in, it's worth checking out. I'll put it over here. I always point in the wrong direction because this is backwards on my screen. So you want to go over there. If you want to support the channel, up above, there's a link to the Patreon page that become a channel member for like $3 a month, or you can click the join button underneath on YouTube, or if you're buying any hobby products, please use the affiliate links. Thank you so much for watching. I am somewhat a little bit disillusioned because I don't love playing double Vindicator tank. I don't necessarily like I prefer playing melee armies. When I was playing the GT in the summer, which I won and I really enjoyed my list, I was bringing incidental shooting, right? Like I brought 400 points of shooting. That was it. I brought like 2 Predator tanks and a Ballistus Dreadnought was in fact what I brought, which is very similar to like, you know, a couple of Gladiator Lancers and a Ballistus or something, right? Like just something to pop open some armor. So I'm like a 2-phase army. So if I have to charge like a transport, I can blow up the transport and shooting and then charge what's inside, right? If you're a 1-phase army and you can only, if your 1 phase is I can destroy your transport in that 1 phase, then everything in the transport is essentially protected for a whole other turn. It'll get to shoot you, it'll get to charge you, whatever it needs to do first, right? So like, Blood Angels work probably better at the moment as a 2-phase army. We used to be able to do that with all the Infernal Pistols that we used to have. You know, you used to be able to shoot like 10 Infernal Pistols at a transport, pop the transport, kill what's inside. We can't do that now. So I like bringing some sort of incidental shooting. I think Angelic Inheritors is carried by Vindicator tanks and Plasma Inceptors, 2 units that I'm actually not a huge fan of. And I think Liberator Assault Group is best, at its best at the moment, if there are no Blood Angels units in it. I am hoping that the balance status slate is going to change that. And in the next few weeks, I'm going to be experimenting. I think I'm going to play Iron Storm, Stormlance. I'm going to bounce around and do some other things just to freshen it up. But I am feeling a bit jaded with both the 2 detachments that we have this edition. I think it can just be that sometimes I just play only 2 detachments for a long period of time, like 1 year, 2 years. I get good at them. But it does suck when you're like looking at the win rates and you've got Death Guard at 60% and Blood Angels at 43%, and you're like trying to figure out in your head, like, you know, okay, I'm going to a tournament, I'm going to be playing against Death Guard probably. How do I build a list that deals with that? But how do I build a list that deals with the rest of the meta as well? And that's super difficult to do. And I think the way that people have been doing it is just in this video over here. Yeah, pointing the wrong direction again. Where like they're taking like 18 Blade Guard, 25 Jump Intercessors, 10 Outriders, and like 2 units of Scouts. And a bunch of Impulsors, right? Like that's how some people are doing it. And I guess it's fun. If you want to play Liberator Assault Group and you want to be super competitive, there's 2, 5, and 0 Liberator Assault Group lists in that last week's video. So check that out. Thanks for watching. I was going to say, please don't unsubscribe if you get to the end. I will get into a better headspace. I just think that we need some buffs to the units in our codex. None of them like stand out to me as like amazing at the moment. And like I'm just struggling to see past a bunch of the weaknesses, right? And this game against Liberator Assault Group really put it in perspective against me, because everybody was telling me, John, stop playing Angelic Inheritors, play Liberator Assault Group. Like maybe I just know Liberator Assault Group too well. I know exactly how to counter that, and maybe I played that game well. But I think the fact that the first turn went super badly and I played it so badly and I was still able to absolutely swing it around makes me think that Blood Angels are in a worse position than I thought they were in. But I don't know. Leave me your comments down below, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Maybe you learned something. If you did, let me know. If you didn't, feel free to say, John, you don't know what you're talking about. I've got another GT in like 10 weeks. So I got to get practicing with something. Maybe it's time for some Red Marines. Maybe it's time for some Iron Storm. I don't know. I'm probably going to play something fun to the next tournament. I'm not going to try and take it too seriously. I think maybe I've been taking it too seriously for the last little while. I go through phases. Waves of seriousness, waves of unseriousness. Last edition, because I got unserious for a little while last edition, I ran Guilliman with my Blood Angels. That was pretty fun. I ran Armigers with my Blood Angels. That was pretty fun. I even ran some Black Templars. Maybe I ran something else. Can't remember. But yeah, maybe I'm in that phase. Like, I've done a lot of Blood Angels this edition. I'm going to jump around and do something else for a month or two, and then maybe refocus once we get some points updates. People have been telling me that we think we might get points updates, balanced data slate in the beginning of June. So watch this space, because I'm here every week talking about tactics and stuff. So I'll see you guys soon. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend. By the blood are made strong. Peace. That didn't work, but okay. By the blood are we made strong, brothers. Peace.